Welcome to the Wingly Update, name to be decided. Forget everything you know about programming language for the cloud. Now welcome your host, Yal Keren.
Hello.
Hello, Vital. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I don't have any scripted text to begin with. I usually kind of have a scripted text and then I get nervous. But I have you here, so everything is easier.
What else do we have here?
Today?
Today?
Okay, so we have a nice show today. We have, of course, Vital who's going to talk about the community. And then we're going to have, back from a long recess, we're going to have Mark the DJ.
Woo!
That's going to be
Woo!
awesome.
Woo! I can't wait.
Yeah, and then we're going to have Uri joining us, who's going to talk a little bit about what we're doing right now and basically kind of a recap on how we work, the 2 week sprints. And then we're going to jump into Hassan, who's going to talk about the Wing plugin system, kind of a new addition to Wing, which is going to be super interesting. How are you feeling? Yeah? How are you feeling? Are you feeling well? You were sick. You had a couple of days you were sick, right?
Yeah, I was sick for 1 day.
You missed work. You didn't came. I sat alone.
I know.
Yeah.
I felt the distance.
Yep.
I saw that you were super sad.
Yep. But I'm glad.
Here I am.
Yep, I'm glad to
I'm
have
back.
you. Yep. So what do you have for us today? What are you going to talk about?
So I'm gonna have a super. I want to start with a fun activity.
Okay.
Not an actual activity, but a fun update.
Okay.
So we're asking all of the community members to send us a short video, 3 to 5 seconds, with you saying Winglang. Winglang.
Okay.
It's not a fancy video. It's literally 3 to 5 seconds. And the goal is to basically collect as many Winglangs as possible and compose all of them into one huge video.
Yeah, have you recorded yours? No.
That's a very good question.
Because I haven't recorded mine and I felt bad for not recording mine until this second when I saw you tweet, when I saw you realize you didn't record yours. Okay, so I'm feeling good. You record yours and then I'll record mine. Okay.
And I want to give credit to Saba. It was his idea. And he took it one step forward and he suggested that we will convert this one into a challenge where we're getting the weirdest Winglang video.
Okay. I saw some candidates already.
So out of the millions of videos that we got so far, we have a winner so far.
Okay.
The winner is Hassan.
Right. Yeah. Hassan,
Yeah.
Right.
He...
Did we do a drum roll before? Should we do this again? The winner is?
And the winner is... Drums.
Hassan! Surprise! Okay, Hassan.
He chased Batman for 3 to 4 hours. And at the end, he got Batman to say Winglang with his authentic voice.
Right, yeah, I've seen it.
It's the real Batman.
The real Batman.
So we're looking forward to get all of those fancy videos. And that's it.
That's it. Fancy videos? Send us our way.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
That's
Second
it?
update.
You have also other stuff to talk about? Okay, all right. You have a lot of things
Two more
to talk about.
topics.
2 more topics.
Two
Okay.
more topics. Next Tuesday, we're going to have our community meeting.
Okay.
And this time, our community members will be joining us and they will be demoing their contributions.
Yes.
We will see some code, we will see some demos. It's going to be super exciting.
Yeah, so we have kind of the core team, or maybe the Monada team, not the core team. The Monada team basically has our own rituals where we kind of demo every 2 weeks, and I thought that would be a great, because people are contributing real shit. I mean, people are actually making real contributions, which would be awesome to see. Great.
I agree. Awesome. So see you on next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday on the community update. Awesome.
Okay. And as usual, I want to call out some names.
Okay. Some contributors. Okay.
Some contributors.
Yeah.
I want to start with Casey Aburayan.
Hey, Casey.
Aloud. Awesome. So Casey contributed to Winglang by actually improving the compilation command. She made the target a required parameter. So
yeah, so when you do wing compile -- target, I mean, if you don't do dash the target, the command line
compile.
will basically kind of tell you have to do it.
Exactly. As well as allowing only supported options.
Okay. And why are we doing this? Why are we giving the dash target as a requirement? It used to be from some weird reason, AWS was the default, when we all thought it should be the simulator as the default, but when Wingit or WinRun kind of came, we kind of, in the console, and we're going to see some updates from the console, it kind of felt like, you know what, people will be using this to compile for the simulator, and if they want to compile to AWS, they will do win compile dash target tf-aws, right? And in the future, Azure, GCP. I mean, Azure is already available.
Yeah.
Great.
Thanks to Hassan. He's a celeb today.
Wow,
that's awesome.
Yeah, he set it up. The next guy
is Raywan,
the
one and only.
Yeah, we already talked about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he added a few enhancements to our one and only Lambda function. He basically added the ability to define the size of the memory consumed by the Lambda function, and also the ability to publish the Lambda function version.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Rayon. That's awesome. I think I learned about the Lambda function version that basically allows you to kind of deploy more, kind of to gradually roll out the Lambda function. That's interesting. I learned that from that PR. I didn't know that option existed.
Love it.
And it wasn't that simple. I mean, it started to get more complicated, right? With the invoke. I mean, there was a lot of great job. Rayon. I think it's
awesome job.
Rayon was the first one that we talked about in this show, right?
That is so true.
Yeah.
And that brings us to Marcio, who
Marcio
we
is,
also talked about him last week, 2 weeks ago,
right?
And perhaps even 4 weeks back.
Okay.
Marcio, how should I start? I don't know how to start. Where should I start from?
So let's start from the for loop. He did a for loop, right?
Yeah.
That's for
He fixed the 4 statements so that we are iterating the order based on the TypeScript order. He also implemented the else if, which is awesome.
Right.
He implemented the decrease method in the counter.
On the counter, wow.
So we can do increase and decrease.
Okay.
And a few more changes. And as we speak, he's working on
the schedule resource.
Yeah,
exactly. That's a big one.
That's a big one.
That's a big one. That's good luck, Marcio. Thank you for all this hard work. Thanks.
And last but not least, we have Rafael, who added the timeout property to the cloud.function function.
Right.
He's working on another big PR right now. I also want to take this opportunity and thank Chris and Hassan, who are supporting those contributions.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris, thank Hassan, and thank Rafael. Thank you for your work.
Yes.
Last time, applause. Woo! Great.
Before I leave, I want to say, as always, I'm leaving you.
Damn it.
I can stay if you want.
Yeah, where will you put Uri?
We will figure this out. So as always, I want to say that if you would like to be part of this amazing project, if you want to contribute, if you are hesitating, you don't know how to start, always feel free to ping me, ping Eyal, send us a Slack message, send us an email. We will be super happy to support you. It's an awesome project. It's an amazing project. If it's your first time contributing to an open source project, this is the place for you. So feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Great. So thank you, Revita, for your time. And stay with me while we move to our one and only Mark the DJ. So Mark, what do you have for us today?
Thanks, Eyal. This next song really gets me moving. I don't mean like dance. I don't really do that. But I move in some way. Like, I guess, vibrate? I don't know. The song just has a lot of energy. This is also the first time I've seen the video, and I've been listening to it for a few years. And it's definitely, something. Anyway, here's Radar Detector by Darwin Dees.
Are we back? I kind of figured you. Okay, so we're back. Thank you, Mark, for this, and we have Uri here. Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, how are you doing, man?
Very good. Thank you for inviting me on the show.
Thank you for showing up. We were supposed. I mean, this is kind of a last minute thing for you, right? I mean,
Oh yeah. But you know, I'm always ready to substitute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like you caused the lad to lose his voice. It's kind of.
I was feeding him some vitamins.
Yeah. Okay.
So Elad lost his voice, and you came to me this morning,
Yep.
and you practically begged me for
Yeah.
come, and I said yes.
Yes, yes, I wouldn't. That's exactly what happened. And then you came with a list. So what's on the list? What do you want to talk to them about?
Man, I made a huge task list for today.
Yep.
And first of all, I have to say that going on in here after Revital, it's quite difficult.
Yeah.
It's like going on stage after Frank Sinatra or something,
Okay.
but only bigger.
Only bigger.
Right. Okay. So last time when I was here, I think it was 4 weeks ago. Wow, that's a long time.
4
And
weeks
we've been
ago.
pretty busy
Yep.
with the team.
4 weeks ago.
As you know, we work in 2-week-long sprints. That's nothing out of the ordinary. And we try to come up with a story for each sprint that will be taking us another step towards Wing language that is useful to build real-world applications.
Yeah, I'm just.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
No, I'm not opening anything. Sorry.
No worries.
Just trying on the computer. I opened.
Solitaire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, got it.
I turn off the network and play with the dinosaur of Chrome.
Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, we finished a sprint that implemented story number 10. And that's the first time we introduced the application of task list. It's a common best practice in project management around the world. I think React has that, right?
Right. Yeah.
And we basically try to take this app, and each time with each sprint that we complete, with each iteration, we're actually making it better and better and using more of the features of the language. On story 10, let's maybe see that.
Okay. So can you put my computer on screen? So I'm going directly to docs.winglang.io, and I don't know if it was available kind of 4 weeks ago, but now we can find our RFCs under the contributing guide, and then under RFCs you can have user stories. So we're going to click here, and then we're going to go on task list, the task list status done, and there's a discussion here. There's some text here, but what we want to focus on the code here.
Yeah.
Which basically kind of shows you the code that's the demo. That's what we want to. So what happens is we work together to write that software, and then we extract the issues to make sure that in the end of 2 weeks, we get to this point. Whether we get to this point or not, that's an open discussion. We can talk about this. And then, but this simple to do app has a bucket and a counter, and then it has kind of not an object-oriented style, right?
Right.
A bunch of functions, right? Can you tell us?
Well, so we started with a very basic implementation of a to-do app. Basically, it's a task list that is based on 2 main resources, cloud resources, if you may.
Right.
One of them is the bucket, where we are storing all these tasks. And the other one is a counter that allows us just to generate IDs for these tasks and etc.
Yeah.
To implement that, I think we can, let's scroll up a little bit.
Okay.
So you can see that each one of those activities that we are allowing, each one of those methods that we allow these task lists to have is implemented using a cloud function. Cloud function is a resource. It's basically an AWS Lambda, a GCP function, right? That's how it's called, I guess.
I mean, on the simulator, it's just a JavaScript function. If you deploy this to AWS, it will turn into, unless there's some changes where we're going to talk about the Hassan plugins, the default will go into an AWS Lambda, and on GCP it's a cloud function, and same goes for Azure.
Exactly. That's the beauty of Wing. It's basically an abstraction. So when we write the code here of Wing, it's the cloud function. And if we want to deploy it locally, we use the simulator target.
Yep.
And we want to compile it to run on Azure, we use the Azure target, or TF Azure, because we are using Terraform for Azure under the hood.
Great.
So yeah, we can just scroll there. That's going to be our baseline for today. So basically what we did here already has some functionality. The language already supported at this point all those resources that we see. but not much more than that, to be
Yeah,
honest.
right. So we
some
have
of the syntax.
Yeah, so we have those function here. There's the kind of the to-do task API, but that's not we were aiming for something else, right? I mean,
We were looking to expand that specific example of a task list, and we wanted to build that into something more object-oriented.
okay.
So that's when we introduced the next story. Well, we had one in between, but let's take a look at story number 12.
Awesome.
Or 12a.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Story number 12. So what we have here, we basically this is we have a task list resource here. And we have the same function, the add task, but they're not in-flight function. Now they are in-flight methods on the resource on the task list. So you can actually see it's basically the same code. It has some nice stuff. We have a for loop right now, so we can iterate over mutable arrays. We have this syntax that was new. And eventually we're creating that task resource. We're initiating it in pre-flight. That's also a resource, right? I mean, that's something that we need to understand. Can you talk about? It's kind of easy to understand why Cloud Function is a resource. Why is a task list also a resource?
Excellent question. So basically what we wanted to achieve with this story is to allow taking it object-oriented all the way. So you take one object, that's the task list, and we have it contain basically two different resources, the bucket and the counter that we've seen before floating out miserably on themselves.
Okay.
Right now we push them in together and we are able to reuse that code. Obviously all of these reasons why we would like to have object-oriented code. All of these functions that we've seen before have been turned into in-flight functions like you've seen here. Yep. And I wanted to highlight, you were going over these quite quickly, but I wanted to highlight some of the tasks that were added, some of the things that were added in this sprint as well. So that for loop that now we can iterate over everything.
Yep.
Every iterable.
Awesome.
And another cool thing is those container types. So we have array, wing is immutable by default.
Right.
That's the path we wanted to take. We believe that a cloud cloud-oriented language should be immutable. Maybe you want to say a few words about that?
So we talked about this a little bit, and we saw a little bit in the previous session how we say let, and then we had let. If we want to explicitly say that the variable is assignable, we need to add the var, let var something.
Right.
But the difference, the focus that Wing has for basically starting with immutable. By default, everything is immutable. That's because a lot of times because this is a distributed system, it's running on different context. We want the static compiler to basically help the developer not make mistakes.
Awesome.
So first of all, if you define something, by default, it will be immutable. So if you want to mutate over something, explicitly you need to make sure that I can mutate over this. And we want to prevent, this is what we want to prevent the developer from making mistakes. So,
exactly.
And of course, distributed systems, they love immutability. It's easier to work with immutable objects because you don't have to worry about locking and this mechanism. People will create a locking resource in Wing, so we'll have locking eventually, but that's why.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. We can see the rest of the code here, and basically that code runs in flight.
Right.
So that code runs on a remote machine usually. That could be a Lambda function like we said earlier. Right. That code, for example, we do want to have some way to gather all our output, right? In this find task with which actually search for the task that has this term in it.
Right.
So we want to be using a mutable array.
Right.
So we define that mutable array, but you can see that after we iterate over all these tasks that we bring and we search for them, we're pushing into this mutable array.
Right.
And at the end, we are calling the copy function. Again, this idiom of calling copy, and we know that in Wing, it means that you're staying immutable.
Right.
Copy
will always return the immutable object, right?
Exactly.
So the default for someone to do copy, if he wants to have a mutable, I don't know why those two words if
We're
something
making it-
that changes, okay?
making it fun for you.
Mutable.
Invent a new language.
Yeah, so nice, nice. We should invent a new language, kind of Hebrew maybe. So output.copy will always return an immutable,
Yes.
an immutable copy of that object. And output.copy _ mute will return the mutable. Okay, so if that
I couldn't have said it better.
yeah, you could have tried. That's what I tried.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
So we've seen most of the stuff that there is to see over here, but let's give it a spin, right?
Yeah. So so first of all, this is I mean we're laughing about this that we're a Twitch show oriented programming. We usually kind of work really hard to push everything into main before this show, but as you said, we shouldn't ninja merge this thing. This branch is pretty huge, and we haven't completed all the tests, and there's also a bug which we're going to encounter in a second.
We're gonna see that.
Yeah, we're going to see it in a second. So I've copied this, and I'm going to open my console. And instead of using kind of the regular win command, when I'm going to use the command, I'm going to use this long kind of command which I compiled before. So it's very easy, by the way, to compile. We saw it in the previous show. And I'm going to basically paste the code here. So the code will be just seen. Let's put this here. The same code. And I'm going to run it. So I'm going to run wing.
Let's compile it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to compile it. Thank you, man. I'll compile. Do you want to try to compile it without the target?
Oh, let's see what Casey did.
Yeah. So let's do it like this. And okay. So
Thank you, Casey.
Thank you, Casey. We got
Thanks again.
the required option. And let's do this. And let's compile it to simulator.
Worked.
It worked because I haven't saved. Like in the rehearsal, I haven't saved in the
Okay,
rehearsal.
nice.
So
you're not saving, you're compiling an empty file.
Yeah. Mark, by the way, if you're seeing this, it doesn't work yet.
There's a question from the audience.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
It does compile.
So Grief Hammer is asking, is there anywhere I can see what the expected timelines are for future resources? I'm specifically interested
good
in
question.
longer running code using a service.
Ooh, nice.
So we can actually let's show him the let's show him the roadmap.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm going over. I can go over from here, right?
We should have a link over here.
So I can look for language-specific API roadmap, right?
Roadmap.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we're going through the SDK roadmap,
Right, because that's where we implement all our resources.
Yeah.
So we actually divided everything to see what's out of scope for beta, what's less important for beta, what's super important for beta, and what's in progress and what's already done.
Right.
So if you're asking about the logger, I'm afraid
He was asking about service.
Yeah, longer running service.
long-running service.
Services.
Okay.
So how would we find
Service, yeah. There we see.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
we gave it a P2 priority, so we might be able to complete it before beta, but we're not committing to it. If it was in the P1 area, then it would be for sure part of the
And the beta timeline is around June, July, basically that timeline. I mean, we haven't kind of set the actual date. By the way, what was his name again?
Griff.
Grief. Oh,
Great. Chris, you can just go over cloud services and just +1 on it.
Oh, yeah.
And we're looking at this, and we're going to prioritize this based on customers. So
Right.
So
your voice matters.
yeah, awesome. Okay, so
Let's get back.
Let's get back. So we're back here, and it should compile. The problem is not compiling. The problem is that I ran the test. I now remembered. So
Right.
this is compiled correctly. I did save it. Let me run this, and I'd say test 1.w. And now I'm going to have an error. And the error is, if you see the output of the test, one of the tests, the test failed, and it failed because add task is not a function. And
Okay.
let's look at where do I call add task? So this is, and as you can see, we are calling add task with an underscore.
Right.
And the code fails because the code, the compiler, the runtime looks for an add task with camel case. And there's something relates to JSification? No, yeah.
It is related to how basically JSII is enforcing those case camel case.
Got it.
And we are actively changing the way methods are actually JSified from Wing
Yeah.
into the JS that is JSF.
Yeah, it's important to remember that Wing right now compiles into JavaScript. It can compile to other stuff. That's just a kind of implementation detail. It compiles to JavaScript, and in this process we have a bug in the system. I actually think that we can release this with this bug because we are not breaking anything backward. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over all those functions, just change them instead of add task to just add.
Awesome.
Let's do this, and let's go over all those functions and see if everything
Yeah,
works.
we have get task.
So let's replace this with get. And we have
Remove, I think.
nice, man. Remove task. And I'll get this with remove. And we think we have list or something. Find. Okay. Find. And we change this to find. Place everything. And then I'll save. And I run the test again.
Let's see. Let's see.
And I
I
still
think we
have
have list maybe too. But
Yeah, there was a problem. You want to
yeah.
Yeah, list task ID, great man.
Okay.
And we have list, and then I'm saving, and then I'm going here. Oh, no. Okay. And now the test passed, and we can even
Nice, man. Let's wing it.
and you can even wing it because we're using the compile version. I need to wing the actual output. Yeah, the output of the simulator. So let's
This
run the
ends with this is
simulator.
the WSIM file, right?
Yeah. I need to compile it again to the simulator. I can believe
Right.
I remember that. And then I'm gonna go wing it.
One dot.
Target
Right.
1.wsim.
Awesome.
And now we should be able to see the console.
Oh,
And,
look at it.
Yep. And
Nice
this is the
job,
console.
console team. They are making some changes, I know,
Yeah.
currently.
Yeah, I think that even in the next show, we'll be able to get a sneak peek.
I hope.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Great job.
Yeah. So this is going to work. I mean, we already seen this. I can run this, and then I'm going to have things in the bucket. That's basically it. What do we have next? So this story 12. What
So
about the
with
next one?
I want to pause here just to acknowledge what we have
Okay.
achieved this far. So basically with this kind of set of features, you can already build Wing apps that are useful for some small tasks.
Right.
Obviously we're still in alpha. We're
Right.
still closer to alpha maybe than we are to the beta.
Cool.
But in the next iteration, let's take a look at it.
Yeah.
I think we have it here.
So the next iteration is still an RFC.
There's another question from the audience.
Oh, good.
From Shai Bell.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Who is that?
Number one.
The one and only.
Yeah, about the counter resource.
Yeah.
Seems really cool, and I don't remember seeing any counter resources on AWS.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
this guy is a counter merchant.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I love the counter resource.
Yeah.
I first of all, on AWS, the counter resource is basically implemented with DynamoDB with one of DynamoDB primitives. But the idea behind the counter resource, I think, is much bigger than how it's implemented. Because I think that when you create the right abstractions, I mean then you really unlock the cloud for developers. I think that's the thing. You can unlock. I mean, if I'm a developer and I need to talk with my manager, with my ops team, in order they need to start to spin up a DynamoDB just for a counter, they will look at me and say, "Well, you crazy man." That's a lot of work for just a counter. Figure this out somewhere else. But when you create the right abstraction, and it's easier, and in this example, it's serverless. You don't pay for when you're not using it. It scales down to 0. I think then you're giving developers, I mean, the right tools for succeeding. And counter right now is only implemented in AWS and on the simulator.
Right.
It will be implemented in Azure and GCP soon. But that's the idea. Even the task list, that's a resource that someone can say, you know what, now I'm publishing that resource, and that resource can be implemented somewhere, and I can use the task list resource in any cloud application. So that's the concept is reusable. I mean, do you remember we used to have reusable stuff in programming? Now you can reuse actually the infrastructure as well.
I'm using the task list every day.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Shai Bear, for this
Awesome
great question.
Awesome.
Quickly, I'm going to go into. We don't have the story 13 right now because it's currently in
our process of RFC, right?
Yeah.
So we request for comment from the team. We want to make sure that we designed it the right way before we start working on it, and that's the process. That's where we are at the process currently.
And this is open for everyone. I mean, that's still open. So we're going to pull request. I'm going to look for my RFC, and this is task list with JSON UUID and duration.
Right. So those are some, well, cloud primitives, if you may.
Right.
Things that are useful for many different cloud applications. And we realized that we want to start getting them into our arsenal of cloud resources and functionality of the language, basically.
Right. So what we have in that, I mean, again, you can see, we can go to the file changes. You can go over all the comments. I'm going to just quickly go over the file. So we're saying we're going to use NPM. We're going to store JSON instead of strings. We're going to use the duration. So duration is one of the primitives of the language. And we also, this bucket will be, the bucket that we're using will be replicated across the different region for Azure as well. And we also, right now, Wing, the SDK and the compiler basically gives all the privileges. So if I'm using a bucket only to read files, if I go to the Terraform, I'm going to see I get all the permissions.
Yeah,
read, write,
update,
list, everything. Yeah. And that's an alpha.
That's not least privilege.
Yeah. So we want to exactly. So we want to start focusing on this. It's going to be a long story, and it should work on the same. And we're going to also have a focus on VS Code. So we have Mark, the DJ, is going to focus on VS Code, some hover auto-completion, and the console. And this is the code here. So we're going to bring.
That's a good one.
Yeah. The UUID part.
Yeah, because basically under the hood, we're going to start implementing bringing JSII packages. Right. Modules.
Yeah.
So
why are we building?
So we realize Wing is a new language, but we want to harness some of the power of other communities.
Yeah.
Naturally, we are also going to create a first-class support into the CDK community.
Right.
So that means the other tools and the tool chain that around it, and that also calls for JSI support.
Right.
So to allow basically running calling CDK Terraform constructs within pre-flight code of Wing.
Right, exactly. So we're going to tap into that existing ecosystem, that CDK-TF ecosystem, for example. So we want to basically bridge the gap. We're going to give our developers or our community the ability to really easily create stuff that they're already built. And that's bringing JSI is basically saying we're able to bring stuff that adhere to the JSI kind of type system and that are to the JSI manifest in a way, that have that manifest. And that's exciting. We also wanted this to happen in in-flight. We had a discussion today with Chris. We're going to focus on this bringing CDK-TF stuff.
Yeah. It's important, just if I may, just to note that we are bringing the JSI code, the module, but we're keeping it type safe.
Yep.
So that's a very important point. We're still keeping the protections or instructing the developer for a good experience, for applications that don't break. We're not compromising on the experience and the developer experience, and we're still providing all of the capabilities that are available through those JSI modules. Right.
Another big thing that we have here is, from the code perspective, is that there's a small thing that's called a JSON.
Oh yeah.
And it's used a lot. Thank God. I used to use XML. That was terrible.
My condolences.
Yes. Yeah. And we're starting. This is kind of a placeholder for how the JSON API will look like. It's just a placeholder. When we started working on this, we said, okay, then we need an RFC for how JSON will be represented in Wing, and we can just go into that RFC, the RFC that Elad has been working on, and it's a great reading material, if I may say. I mean, I hope my wife is listening and she's going to read it. So this is the spec for JSON.
Yeah, it's a good place for folks in the community to actually. To add some feedback. We hear Revital is shouting from the other room. Give feedback, because this is how we actually, any of us application developers, cloud developers around there, we've used JSON a lot. we want to make sure that we still have the functionality that a JSON, a simple JSON that is used for storing all of the data that we want, is still going to give the experience for the developer that has at least some type safety to, again, guard them from doing these miserable mistakes of choosing the wrong type.
Right. And the JSON story is interesting. It's I mean, JSON is kind of loosely typed by nature. We want to be able to tie it into a strongly typed language. It's very interesting. I encourage you to take a look at this and basically kind of and give us feedback on that.
It's also small. I mean, if you actually look at the Winglang spec, that could be intimidating for folks to review everything.
Yeah.
But that section is very much self-contained.
Yep.
And you can read it, including all of those comments, in about 10 minutes. And it's not rocket science over there. I mean, it is great, it's crafted, and it's a work in progress. But it's something that I would assume that most of us will be able to understand the need over there. And we're really looking for your feedback, because we're looking for the needs that are represented by you and the companies that you work for.
Yep. Awesome. Makes sense.
Nice.
Do you have anything else to talk about?
Man, I feel like we talked a lot, and I really want to hear the next guest. So I think I'll have to clear my space.
So I think after we've been talking to him for a long time, I think the next guest needs no introduction. But before we get Hassan here, or basically not here remotely, let's listen more about that song that made Mark vibrate. Was he vibrating? Was he moving? He wasn't so sure. So let's hear it.
We cruise the neighborhood, but it's not supposed to feel this good.
So, hey Hassan, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It feels weirdly natural. It sounds weirdly natural. The Wingley show. This is your first time here.
This is my first time here, and I guess I was a little premature. I said I'm doing great, but I got to say I'm actually doing not so great. I'm pretty bad. I didn't find out until maybe 35 minutes ago that I was the closer, and I've already negotiated my speaking costs. So
okay.
I think we're gonna have a conversation about this.
Where are you talking? Are you from Ohio, right? You're a guy from Ohio, right?
I am from Ohio, here in the States.
Yeah. So who are you talking with the cost? Because I had the same issues with. Is it Bill? It's I feel like the guy is holding his wallet tight.
I'm not sure. Every time I call somebody who it just sounds like Shy doing different voices to throw me off.
Nice.
So
That's a classic.
chasing it down.
Yeah. So programming for the cloud basically means it's you need two people for this. I mean, you need an engineer and you need a DevOps. I mean, a software engineer and a DevOps engineer. And sometimes you have those two people reincarnated in one. Some people call them full stack engineers. We call them full stack engineers. I mean, people that can kind of write the software, but also kind of make sure that the cloud is provisioned and correctly provisioned. And there's two different jobs here, right? One job is kind of logically, functionally figuring out what we saw before with Uri is I need a task list resource, and I need a bucket, or I need a database. There's another job here that basically says, okay, you want to provision the task list, you want to provision a bucket, I'll provision it for you, I'll give you permission, I'll set it up, I'm going to work with YAML files, I know the intimate details of the cloud. And the DevOps engineer needs to know the intimate details of the cloud. And also when he knows that, and he's a great DevOps engineer, he can also make sure that everything is secured, that we have a data recovery plan, and those two people working together is basically, this is how cloud applications are written today, and that's great. The only problem with it that they're also blocking each other. That's the way I see it. When the software engineer basically start writing software, in order to run that software locally, he needs a DevOps engineer to help him setting up some local instances, local stack, or other options. when he wants to deploy this to production, he wants the DevOps engineer to set up the Terraform file or CloudFormation file or CDK or Pulumi or anything else. And those two concerns together, they create a lot of problems. I mean, basically engineers are not empowered to solve they're not empowered to solve the problem from one side to another. And the DevOps engineers are working a lot in just enabling the engineers, because they also have to worry about kind of the enterprise concern, making sure that everything is resilient. And that's something we acknowledge the both part of this. We want to build a great product for the software engineer and to build a great product for the DevOps engineer. But until now, we just saw the software engineer part. And that's where you came to discussion. Basically, what was the task that was given to you? What was explained to you?
Yeah. So I love the way that you put that, right? The constant blockers that you see on the engineering and the DevOps side. But so to talk a little bit about like what it is that we're proposing here and what I'm here to talk about. It's this idea of the Wing plugin system. So a little bit of background, and in case anyone has already like gone through and seen some of the discussions we've had previously, the plugin system is actually kind of a rebrand of the concept that we've lovingly talked about as the infrastructure as policy, where we were going to offer this really rich and declarative policy-driven syntax that allows for customization of the infrastructure created by Wing. But there's a lot of complexity there. And to be honest, like this was my biggest skepticism, that we could offer the developers a way, when I first heard about Wing, offer developers a way to focus on their application code and really remove the need for them to care about things like S3 replication or HIPAA compliance or tagging, things like that. We wanted to really get that separated. And if we can do this, then in my opinion, it's a game changer. So I've been working on the Wing plugin system, and I want to take you back, like just to give context, like a few weeks ago, I was in Israel with all of you guys.
Yep. And
having amazing discussions with everybody. It was absolutely wonderful. And one of the discussions we were having, Elad was there, and so was the team. We were having dinner. And as is typical with conversations that involve all these great people, they generate these really cool ideas. And so this idea in particular was really simple in nature. And that's kind of the beauty about it, that we wanted to offer this simple plugin system that's going to allow users hooks that they can hook into various phases of our Wing compilation process. And from this, they're able to apply these policies or configurations, so to speak, to their amazing Wing code. So here we still have our developers writing their code.
Yep.
And they're writing their Wing application without the concerns of these non-functional requirements. And we might have operations or DevOps engineers that are building these sort of plugins that allow us to apply business logic, compliance, security concerns to the code.
Yeah, so basically we have you summed up perfectly. We have two concerns here. The functional concern, the developer, I need this to operate this, to call this, that's one thing. And then we have another concern, how is this deployed? And that concern, when you're taking those two concerns together, you have a developer, a software engineer that is able to be empowered to write software in ways that adhere to the enterprise demands. Because the other concern, that it can be implemented and there's no blocking, they're not blocking each other, right? So I can have any Lambda function turn into a container based. If that's what I need to do, I need to have it's not a function, it should be a container. And I can have every bucket. I mean, I don't want to go to your actual example. So you've done that work. I mean,
yeah. Basically, by introducing this concept, we're letting developers do their magic, write the great code, and then during the compilation and deployment process, if we need S3 replication, then that's a plugin. If we need IAM boundary, permission boundary set, then that's a plugin. If we need a way to validate security concerns against application infrastructure, guess what?
So I can take that task list that we just seen and I can put it under a VPC, right?
That's right. That's the concept here. That you'd be able to apply these concerns during our compilation process.
Okay, so you started with an RFC. Was that, can you tell us about the process for you kind of tackling this?
I'm so sorry, one more time?
I said you started with basically kind of the RFC. Can you show us a little bit of the RFC? I mean, can you show us what you've created?
Yeah, of course. So let me share here. And fingers crossed, this will just work.
Let's see if we can share and see if it works. Okay, it's working.
Does that work?
Yeah, I'm able to see your screen. Awesome.
Wonderful. Yeah, so this all started from an RFC, which we can now go and take a look inside of our RFCs section. That my doc site is not running. Sorry.
Okay.
Let me pull it up from the actual site. So.
Will you be able to? Okay, you pull it up for the actual sites. Great.
Yeah, I'll multitask here and fix the docs that I need to be able to show later.
Okay.
But I'll just come here because this RFC is already merged, so we can take a look. And so this RFC goes over sort of the Wing plugin system and what it is that we wanted to be able to offer from a developer experience to write these plugins. So one of the main points here is that there's multiple different hooks.
Right.
And inside of these hooks, we offer this pre-synthesis hook.
Thank God you had to say it.
And a validation.
Yep. So the 3 hooks, pre, post, and validate. Awesome.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the idea behind the existing hooks is that it's not the end all be all, right? That's just what we're offering now. We have ideas for actually there's an open issue right now for allowing you to use your plugin to give us like a instantiating your resources.
Yeah.
So more are probably to come, but right now this is what we have.
Nice. Nice.
And yeah, so the just to talk about the 3 hooks that we have available now. The pre-synthesis hook is this hook allows you to gain access to the app that's being run here. So I'm going to speak to all of these hooks as if we're talking in the context of the TF AWS target, right? Because plugins can be a little specific in that nature.
Yeah.
So in that regards, when we're running our pre-synthesis hook, we're going to have access to like the CDK root node. And from there, we can actually add things to our construct tree. We can traverse the construct tree, manipulate constructs in that tree as we go through. And this gives us a way to just really add and manipulate resources through the tree.
So
Then there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to say, so in this example here, we can see that I'm actually making use of a concept some might be familiar with, which are CDK aspects. And so it's as simple here as I'm just going to export this presynth function, and that's going to expect the app node. And then from here, I use the CDK aspects to apply a new Lambda tagging aspect. And this will just go through my tree and find all the taggable all my Lambda functions, and give them a tag with an owner and an email address.
Great.
Right, so
great. That's a great example.
It just works.
Yep.
Yeah, and actually, let me see if this is now working, because it would be great if I could get us back. Oh, I can't. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm sorry about that. I took your browser into a wild ride. You were running from localhost. It was cached, and then you lost the cache because of me. I'm sorry.
It's fine. I will forgive you. Yeah. It's booting up here.
Okay.
So here, wonderful.
Yep.
I'm back.
You're back.
Now everything's
No one noticed the glitch.
Yeah. So I have to run this from localhost because this isn't quite merged yet. But I do want to demo the new doc that our developers are going to be able to see.
Great.
So here in our reference section, there's a new section for the CLI reference that goes over our plugins.
Nice.
So if I am a user and I want to use a plugin, then it's just as simple as adding this new plugin option followed by a list of all the plugins, which are just absolute paths to JavaScript files.
Nice.
Right? And so that's as simple as using it.
Yeah.
If for our developers who are courageous or trailblazing and want to get in and start writing plugins, we can come over to the dedicated section for a compiler plugin. And this will really go over that design of how to write these plugins.
Nice.
Right? So inside of each one of these hooks, so we can see here, present hook, this is what we just talked about, our API reference to how to write these. And then there'll be a small example. So here's just a simple example of me using the present hook to create a new S3 bucket just at the root scope of my tree. Nothing fancy and nothing really valuable, but you can do it.
Yep. I can add a new bucket to any app I have if that's what I want to do. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And then here inside of my post synth hook, we can see that the object that I can expect is going to be the config. And what we're talking about here in this config is the raw Terraform JSON configuration.
Yeah.
So here we've got access to that, and we can manipulate the JSON that's going to be written to our disk for deploy time.
Right.
And there's a lot of overlap between what you can do in these two hooks, but there's also some things that you can only do within the post synth.
Right.
And I actually would like to demo that here in a moment.
Okay.
And then the final hook that we have available is our validate hook. And this one is special because it also takes in the exact same context, which is that JSON, the Terraform JSON config. The big difference here is if we look at our reference, the validate method compared to our postsynth does not return anything.
Right.
So this is a void type. And that's because it's really important when we want to be able to, let's say, set validations. For instance,
right.
An organization wants to make sure that all the buckets that you're going to deploy have versioning enabled. And that's kind of what this example does. That when we're going through the construct tree and we're checking all of the S3 buckets, that we are able to ensure that anything we look at now and the configuration won't be changed by some subsequent plugin that runs or process. At this point, we're immutable.
Yeah.
We can't, the config won't change.
So this is, I want to recap for a second. This is a great example. As the enterprise, as the security officers, as the engineer, the DevOps, I want to make sure that when we deploy to AWS, I want all the buckets that are being used by this application will have versioning enabled. And that is important from a business perspective because then you can go back in time. Of course, it gives you some safety in terms of data lost. And now I can do this. This is under the hood, after the abstraction. This is already talks about AWS. So now we're deploying this to AWS, and now we want to make sure that all the buckets has this thing. It's not just a bucket, now it's an S3 bucket. And and I can have the same stuff for Azure. Great.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. So with the time we got, I'd like to show just like a quick and dirty way to write one of these plugins super quickly and what it will do when we try to use it.
Great, let's do it. I'm excited.
All right. Here we go.
Okay.
All right, so I've brought my super cool Wing application here.
Nice.
It's already written for us. It's just a simple bucket and a cloud function.
Yep.
Right. So what I need to do in order to create this plugin is I'll just create a new file here. And I'm going to, one of the things that I really hate is that all of my Terraform states are local. And I would rather use a remote Terraform state than when I'm deploying this code. So I'm just going to create a S3 backend plugin. Right?
Interesting.
And from here, so what I really like about this example is this is something that, oops, I didn't mean to zoom out. This is an example of something that we could not do in the present stage. So I think a lot of times we see things that when we have access to the construct tree, we can add things. But manipulating this specific configuration about Terraform is not something that could be done in the previous stage.
Yeah.
So all I need to do now is export the post synth method.
Right.
And I will use that same API.
Yeah.
Where I take in my config.
Config.
And from here, believe it or not, Go ahead.
Config any or config?
Oops, you're
Wait.
config any. There we go.
So this
I knew
is-
there was
yeah.
a typo that was going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm in JavaScript, so
And you need to
I'm just
return
gonna
the any. You're in
omit
JavaScript. Okay.
that's right.
There's no types. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so omit that. And now from here, it's as simple as just coming into the config object. And
Right.
I want to go into my Terraform and the backend settings for it.
Nice.
And I'm just going to set my backend to be S3 with a bucket that I've already got pre-created for this show. And that is Wingley TF state bucket. And the key, yeah, that's as good a key as any.
Okay.
Take it. And my region will be US East.
Okay. You have a type. Okay.
All right.
Great.
So that's it.
So the nice thing
So
about this,
now I
this
can
is
come-
Terraform. We're not talking about CDK. I mean, at this in the post-synth phase, we're talking the config is just a JSON Terraform file, and you don't need to know anything
That's
about.
right.
You don't need to know about anything about the CDK. This is just Terraform. Of course, Terraform is just an example because we're compiling to TF-AWS, and basically what you're saying is all my Terraform files. You just created a plugin that makes sure that all the Terraform files are stored into US East. Of course, we can talk about what you can do with this plugin later. Great.
Sure. Yeah. So without using my plugin, I can see that my backend for Terraform is configured to use local.
Okay.
And now I'm just going to pass in my plugin here.
Okay.
S3 backend.
Great.
Recompile. And you'll see
Oh.
I've got this neat alias, by the way, rather than the big long command to go to my bin.
Ooh, nice, man.
So
Send me that alias.
yeah,
I'm not sure about the rest
you
of
got it.
the thing going on your prompt. It feels like it's Christmas.
there's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
It's going through construction.
Yeah. I got it.
But now we can see that my backend here has been reconfigured to S3. And if I go into my targets folder,
Yep.
oops, and I just do a Terraform init,
Nice.
I'm going to see that it is now using an S3 backend. And
Nice.
it's no longer using iState locally. So it's already working there.
Yeah, so an organization can basically choose, that would be a wise decision probably, that all applications that are using Wing should be deployed into a specific bucket, basically should store their state in a bucket and not locally.
That's right.
That plugin basically that you wrote, it has some specific stuff about the Wingley TF state, I mean the key and the bucket. But in a way, this is something that you could, I mean, if you give a user space, the user the ability to change them, that's something that you can publish on NPM and then someone else can use, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. In practice, we would want these to be, configurable values. Otherwise, there's not as much value in it
Right.
unless you only ever need one state file.
Right.
But yeah, for sure.
Awesome. What are you opening? I see you opening another file, replicated.js. What's
Yeah.
that?
So this one, I only wanted to open it because I know it's one of your favorites.
Yeah, PT
I'm not
is
going to
one of my
write it because it's very big. But I was just going to demonstrate it here. That this is a plugin I call S3 Replicate. So if our developers wanted to enable replication and versioning on their S3 buckets, then they can simply use this as a plugin. So I've already written this, and this is part of our RFC. So if you're interested in reading through the code, you can. But the same concept now. So from my compile command, not only will I provide the, there we go. Not only will I give that backend plugin, I'm also just going to pass in my S3 replicate.
Nice.
If I can type replicate.js.
Nice, man.
Oh, I'm not in the right folder.
Okay.
Sorry. But once I do this, what we will see is that, there we go.
And by the way, Hassan, the reason I love this example, this specific example, because I mean, when my company, when I was at rollout, we had to go through a SOC 2 type 2. What's the what?
Audit.
Audit. And one of the things, you have to have a DLP plan, and and then we said we have buckets. We need them to be duplicated through different regions. So we had to go and turn on versioning. At the time, we were not even doing configuration as code, but we had to turn on versioning, set up the different bucket in a different region, and set it up. So that's something real that happened to me. Just take all your bucket and make sure that they are replicated across different regions. That's something that I like. And now what you're saying is that if I'm writing Wing code, I only need to kind of use this plugin that someone else has wrote probably, and basically once I plug it into AWS compilation, I have all my buckets replicated under different regions.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
can see
awesome.
it here.
That's great.
Yeah, we can see here now in this Terraform,
Yep.
we've got versioning, and we've
Right.
also got replication all over the place. So it's all done through the plugin.
That's amazing. That's just great. Yep. Okay. Great. Hassan, anything else you want to show us?
No, nothing that we've got time for.
Okay. So
I can go through my Pokemon card collection, but nobody wants to see it.
I mean, I'm sure someone wants to see it. I'm not sure who, but we can. Maybe there's someone who's in the audience that's talking about this. So can I show you? Can you turn off the sharing for a second, just so I can see you and say thank you?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
So Hassan, thank you for coming here. Thank you for the amazing work you've done here. Thank you for. I mean, you're kind of new in the team, and it's super exciting to have you in the team. And I'm looking forward for working together with you. And it's interesting from the viewer side. We want your inputs about what kind of plugins should we write, and kind of open your mind. What have you been doing that has kind of baked this is how this should be deployed versus this is the functionality? And once we get more rich examples, we can build out this system as this is the first iteration, and we can find the right stuff, the right solutions, the right engineering solutions for that. So for the audience here, just that would be a nice addition. Just give us great examples for plugins. And I see Ravital is nodding, which means I've done a good job. Hassan, thank you very much for your work today. And I want to also thank
you.
Uri and everyone here. Shiri, Elad, Shai, Ravital, of course, and the Nadav and Shaul from Power Video, which I remember it when I start the show, but I don't remember it when I end it. And Mark, of course, Mark the DJ. Thank you very much. And Dana. And of course myself. Thank you. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.